Today we'll be making a monochromatic value change scale in Tempera paint. We'll be using the same palettes, brushes, cup of water, and even the paper that you already started with. The other day we made a scale using just white and black to get a nice scale of grays, as you can see. On the same piece of paper today, we're going to be creating a monochromatic scale here in the area that is blank. Here's an example of a digital version of a monochromatic scale. You can see that there's a very, very dark blue, regular medium blue in the middle, and then a very, very, very light blue at the top. Mostly white, with white, with white, with white, straight blue by itself, nothing added, with a little black, with a little more black, a little more black, and then a bunch of black. Even the darkest one, though, will still have a blue element to it. All right. Remember to always turn your paper so that it's easier to work on. This area is dry from the other day, so you can just totally work right on top of it, or this way. It's absolutely up to you. The color that you choose for your monochromatic scale may be different from the one I have chosen. I selected blue for my example, but you can do this with any color. I will have several available for you to choose from. You'll be able to use that as your medium, and then you'll be adding white, working your way up the scale. Then you'll stop, and then you'll go back to the original color, the way it is, purely from the container. Then you'll be adding black as you go down. The trick is to make sure that there's blue in every single value that you come up with, including the very, very light one and the very, very dark one. To get started, I recommend that you use the medium. Do that one first. Last time we did black, then white, then the medium. But in this case, it's important to know what the color that we're about to affect normally looks like. Now, in our classroom, we have several blues to choose from when we are painting in full color. Right now, we'll just have the one, what we would consider probably a primary blue. Okay, paint that in nice and solid. Make sure you go all the way to the edges. Okay, now that's our medium. Next, you're going to work your way up or your way down. Notice there's the same amount of spaces on the top left and on the bottom. Okay. So to work our way up the scale, we're going to start adding a little bit of white. I've got my white here. Now, because I'm only using these three colors today, it's all right to do a little corruption, and put some stuff right here. Remember, I need that blue to be blue later when I mix it with black. So I definitely don't want to take my white and add it to this blue, because then I have to go get more blue later. Okay, I'm going to mix these together, and as you can see, it's a very, very nice light blue. It is way too light, though, to be the first step up from here. So I'm going to keep going back and forth with a little bit of the blue. Now you got to be careful. Notice what I did. I went on the very, very edge. I'm trying my best to not mess up my original sample. If I dipped right into the middle, it's way difficult to, avoid that. All right, remember that when you're mixing color, you're always kind of pushing it towards the center, making a little puddle. Okay, and this is a learning thing. The whole point is trial and error. If it doesn't come out the way you want, don't just use it. Work harder to get a better color. Now this is a lighter blue, but I think it's still too much lighter than the first one. So I want to go back a little bit more, get a little bit of blue on the brush, mix it in. Okay. I feel like that's going to be good. That's a nice step up from blue. This is our first lighter version or value. Cool. Now we're going to add a little more white. Be careful. You saw how quickly it changed when we added some white. Now white changes colors pretty quickly, but black changes them even faster. Okay, that doesn't quite look different enough from what I just laid down, so I'm going to carefully grab some more white. Always moving it towards the center. I like to use these smaller spaces because the bigger ones, it spreads out even more, and then the paint really dries faster. So if you can, use the smaller spaces or wells on your palette. Okay, let's see how this looks. Remember before, I don't mind, as I said before, I don't mind if you paint a little bit on the outside, a little bit. We don't want it to get crazy, just to test the color. If you feel like you got the right color, lay it in. Another option is to get all the values you need first, put them on the palette. You might get them out of order. place them in order when you actually paint them. Okay, the next one's going to have even more white. There we go. That is nice, creamy white color, light color. Good. Paint that in. You don't have to go as fast as I do. In fact, don't. And then that last one needs to be like a very, very, very light version of our base color. Okay? Just a tint of blue. A tint of blue, mostly white. Here we go. By the way, when you're adding white to a color, you are making tints. When you add black to a color, you are making shades. Ooh. You know what it's called if you add gray to a color? A tone. How about that? Okay. Now I know that that is not as light as I want it, but I already painted it in. I'm gonna let it dry. I'm gonna rinse my brush, do the other half, come back and make that way, way lighter. Kind of like this sample here. Okay? All right, don't forget to rinse your brush. You don't want any of the white that you just used to be mixed in with your black and blue combos, because then you're gonna have gray, which I just told you is a tone. We're not doing tones today. We're doing tints, any color plus white, and we're doing shades, any color plus black. All right. Remember, sometimes it's helpful to have a paper towel nearby so you can wipe the brush. Now, we've got regular blue again. It's our medium, and we're going to be working our way down the scale. So, how about we take some of this blue? You can do this all day. Here's another thing you can do. I was telling you about making the tones, or the shades all at once, or all the colors all at once, and then placing them in rather than one at a time and trying to guess. So here we go. There's our medium blue. This is going to be the first step down. Here's the next step down, and I'll adjust these two when I get there. I'm going to take a little bit of black. That's probably too much, but let's see what happens. With a darker color like blue, you may not notice the change, but I think you can see even in the low quality phone video here that there's definitely a change. Whoa, that is beautiful. That is a beautiful color. It might be a little too dark. I'm trying to do this a little faster, a lot faster, honestly, than I want you to do it, because I want you to get started. I want you to paint. It's way more satisfying when you paint, right, than watching me paint. Although watching Bob Ross is pretty chill. I like that. All right, so I think I'm feeling like these are too dark already. So I'm going to follow my own advice. What? Yeah. And I'm going to put some blue back into this first one because I got it way too dark too quickly. I'm going to leave it too. I'm going to leave it alone and save it for when that's dry. Okay? Sometimes it's like that. You know, art's not math. There's not just one answer. There's a lot of ways to get to the end result that you are looking for. And sometimes it's a surprise, mother. You know what I'm saying? All right. I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to say that the next one I used is dark enough. I still think it's like kind of crazy too dark, but let's just go for it. What the heck? That's how you guys are, right? You just go for it. It's like, it looks good. Full send. Done. Oops. Delete. What? Delete the whole conversation? Gosh. No. Just that one. All right. Now we're working our way down, continuing to make really nice, interesting dark colors with this beautiful blue. Each color is really dark, but there's blue in it for sure. You don't believe me? Watch. See? There's blue. There's blue. And then the last one isn't black by itself. It's just super dark. You know that blue cloth in the classroom, in the still life? There it is. You just figured out how to make all the colors that you would need to paint that cloth. It's a dark blue, and then there's your shades. And if it's a bright area where this light is really shining, it's going to be over here. Okay? All right. I said I wanted to redo that top one when I was finished with the darks, and I'm okay with what I did, so I'm going to do that. Remember to clean that brush well. You're about to go from a black-blue mix to a white and blue mix. Way different. All right. So if I really want it light, I'm going to start with a bunch of white, and then I'm going to add blue to it, rather than adding white to the blue. Think of adding white to blue or any main color, like throwing a cup of Kool-Aid or punch into a swimming pool, right? The effect is going to be minimal. However, what if I take that Kool-Aid punch sample, whatever, that little bit, and I add just a tiny bit of the other color to that. I think you'll see the change that you're looking for happen easier. You gotta maybe, there we go, okay? And this is dry enough to paint this new color right on top of what I had before. All right? Now, when it's dry, and that'll be in a few minutes, definitely reevaluate it, see how it looks. Hopefully you like it. If not, it's not that hard to fix. Sometimes you can fix them when they're wet, if it's just slightly off. But remember, wet paint will mix into other wet paint. Otherwise, let the thing dry and you can totally paint over it, fix it on another day. Also, a side note, don't worry about these errors in the background. I have a lot of students will get a tiny brush and white, and they'll try to clean all this up using white paint as whiteout. Don't worry about it. It's a record of your learning. It's progress. It's all about the learning experience, and I love to see that. Just don't get too crazy with it. Don't put stuff all over the place, and definitely try to stay inside those little rectangles.